All right, now I'm going to walk you through lab 11, no, lab 12, okay? So as usual, I like to open two screens, right? So one on the left, one on the right, all right? All right, so let's go ahead and finish the previous lab and then start a new one. So this lab is called archive review, right? Start, right? So we just have to follow the instructions over here. So we start the lab. We want to SSH into server B as a student, right? SSH student at server B. We are in server B, right? And then we have to be a sudo, right? In that server as a Red Hat Academy, right? Red Hat as a password. So we are in there as a root, right? We want to make a directory in that server. So mmkd, and the directory name is config sync. All right, config sync. So we create that directory. What do we want to do with that? Okay, so we want to use rsync command to synchronize the etc directory tree from server A to the config file directory that we just made in server B. All right, so let's do that. So rsync v root at server A etc config sync. Right, so we are in server B, right? We want to synchronize the config sync directory in server A. So that's why in server A we have to be root, right? We have to log in as root. Okay. So rsync is the command that will do that for us. And then it will have to eventually ask us for password, right? Which is Red Hat. All right. So from server B, we're able to do that in server A. All right. So what we want to do now is use the tar. So tar comes with a different flavor: CZF, XZF, TZF, right? So the CZF is going to be used to create a gzip compressed file. So when we create a file with a tar, we want to compress that file to have a smaller file, right? That's where the tar.gz comes from, right? So we need to use tar first, okay? CZF, all right? And then configure file, okay? Configure file, backup. That's the name of the backup file. On which server? Server A dot tar. Tell this is a tar file dot gz, right? Dot gz, right? And then configure, configure sync. Config sync. So gz tar cz config file. All right. So you remove it, right? And then now we want to use, like I said, different flavor. So TZF, the TZF, what does that do? What it does is it is an option to list the content of the backup file that we created on server A, right? So what's the tar TZF configure file. So to go faster, I'm going to issue the previous command and make some changes on there. So tar TZF, okay? TZF, okay? Configure file backup, blah, blah, blah. And then in this case, I don't need this. All right, so done. Now I'm going to go to 3, where I will use a SCP to do what? To securely copy the root file, right? So let's do that. So SCP tilde configure file, config file, backup, backup, survey of r.gz. Okay, and then student art workstation, station. So we better to go to the next line first, right? And then because we're not going to have space in there. So student at workstation, all right? Workstation, home, home, student. So what we're doing here is we're securely copying the root config backup server A file, okay, from server B. Remember, it was on the server B, right? So we copy that from server B to home, to student home. That's why we need to log in as a student, right, in there. And then it will ask us for password, which is a student at that case, right? Student. Good. So all is done from server B, right? So from server B, we reach out to server A and did something. Now we reach out to student directly and did something else, right? All remotely, right? And now that we do all that, what we want to do, we want to exit, and then go back to the directory from student and see what is in that file. So exit again. As you can see, we come back to the workstation as a student, right? All right, so let's make directory called the tmp saved config. All right, config. And now let's change directory into that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the mkdir out, cd. So I'm going to that directory, right? As you can see, I'm in there, right? So once I'm in there, what do I want to do? I want to use the tar command with the tzf in this case option to list all the content, right? So if I was able to create that right from server B, I should be able to reach out to the content, right, from my directory. That's what we want to do now. So let's do that right now and use tar tzf configure file, okay, configure file backup dash server A server A dot tar dot gz. All right. Good. Now that we do that, we do the tar. Now let's go ahead and see. The last thing we want to do is use a tar with xzf, just like we did in server B. We do the same thing in server A in directory as a student, right? So tar. So let me modify this one xz instead of z. Okay, and then should be able to get in there. So now let's see what is in there. So ls lr. So we have now we gotta grade ourselves. Change directory back to student and then lab archive view grade grade. All right, we passed all of them. That's what we want to do, right? So what we want to do, we'll go to snipping tool, copy that, save it somewhere as a lab 12, and then load it into the assignment. All right, if you have any question, reach out to me via email or come to my student hours in on East Campus, Building 01, Room 143. Again, thank you for watching. Bye-bye now.